v. Wade. That was a big thing. And it's probably cost us politically because the other side got energized. And, you know, they're the radicals, not the pro-lifers. But now pro-lifers have a tremendous power to negotiate. They have a power. You had no power to negotiate because with Roe v. Wade, you couldn't negotiate. They could do anything they wanted. We didn't have any of that before this ruling. This moves the issue back to the states where every legal scholar said it should be. And like President Ronald Reagan, good man, but like Ronald Reagan before me, I support the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I support. Not everybody does. I think a large portion do. I think you should, but again, that's your own feeling. Remember, the Democrats are the radicals on this issue because they're willing to kill babies in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and even after birth. They're willing to kill babies. So when politicians talk about this, they have to say that they're the extremists, because if you're willing to take a baby out of the womb in the 8th month or the 9th month or after the baby's born, remember that crazy governor, the past governor from Virginia, where he said, when the baby's born, you make a decision. And just recently with the Supreme Court. So that, by the way, the pro-life question, it's going to get you in a position where a lot of tremendously good things are going to happen. 52 years they tried to get that out. We did it. And now you're going to be in a position to do what everybody knows is right. And it's a very important decision. Nobody thought it would be possible to get, but it's something that's very important. The Supreme Court also approved something that nobody thought they would ever see, merit-based systems of education. In other words, if somebody is going to college and has all A's and wants to apply all A's, the best of everything, works so hard and gets rejected by somebody that didn't have anywhere near the academic credentials, nobody thought that would ever get approved. And that was so important. That was such a big thing. It's called merit-based. We have to go back to a merit-based country. But that was just the beginning. Here's just some of the agenda I'll be immediately implementing when it's all of us, when we become 47th President of the United States of America. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. He would have never done it. I know them both. You got it settled. When I was on CNN, I said, I want to see whose side are you on? I said, I'm on the side of people not being killed. I'm on the side of hundreds of thousands of people are dying, and I think that's going to be one of the bad things later on when you find out the real number of people dying in that war. You know, they'll knock down a city, they'll knock down an apartment house, they'll say 2 people were injured. They weren't injured. There were hundreds and hundreds of people killed. Those buildings don't come down and you have 2 people injured. Big buildings coming down, or buildings that are 1,000 years old with the golden domes. You can never do that. But much more importantly, the people. So many people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. It'll be millions. It's already millions. And it's a very, very sad thing. And the numbers are far bigger than anyone understands. And I'll get that done. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent it. Nobody else is going to prevent it. Nobody else is going to prevent it. And this will be a war like no other. This is a nuclear war. If you have World War III, it'll be a nuclear war. And this won't be army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. This will be levels of destruction that nobody's ever contemplated or thought of before. I will totally obliterate the deep state. We started that. We were doing so well. Then COVID came in. And we'll fire the corrupt bureaucrats who have weaponized our justice system and destroying our country, to stop the Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting Republicans, conservatives, people of faith. I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. I will immediately terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. We will seal up our borders like they were when they took office. Week after week, we're watching as Joe Biden's deadly border betrayals take precious, innocent lives. In May, a pack of 5 adult illegal alien and suspected MS-13 animals were arrested in Maryland for brutally murdering a 15-year-old boy and dumping his body in a state park. When the parents saw this, they'll never be the same either. The people that I was with the other night, they'll never be the same. These parents will never be the same. No parent will ever be the same. Just last month, the savage illegal alien who was released into our country by Joe Biden and his crazy, weak orders, and there are no orders, was arrested for raping an 11-year-old girl and strangling her to death after she was raped. Shortly before she was murdered, she texted her father that someone was knocking at the door. He arrived home from work and found his daughter's body stuffed in a laundry basket under her bed. These vicious Biden border killings must end, but it's only going to get worse because they're letting people in from prisons, from mental institutions. They're letting some of the worst people in the world in. And I tell you, I've met a lot of your law enforcement tonight. We have the greatest people in the world, law enforcement. They know how to do their job. We have to let them do their job. When I'm reelected, we will immediately commence the largest deportation operation in American history. But we cannot wait until 2025 to begin stopping this horrible invasion. This is like a military invasion. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people between the drugs that are coming in, the people that are coming in, the crime. That's why tonight I'm calling on congressional Republicans to ban Joe Biden from using a single tax dollar, no taxpayer money, to release or resettle illegal aliens into the United States, starting on the government funding deadline of September 30th. Steve? We take better care of these people, and many of them are criminals, than we take care of our veterans, our soldiers, and spend a lot more money doing it. You know, in New York, many of them are living in luxury hotels. Luxury hotels, hotels that you wouldn't want to go to because you wouldn't want to pay the price. Luxury hotels, it's not even believable. The time for talk is over. Now is the time for action, and they should immediately defund. Time for action. People are tired of talk. People are tired of talk. I said to our First Lady the other night, you know, this is big stuff. They caught Biden getting $10.2 million. That's peanuts compared to what the other numbers. But the guy said, this is big stuff. She goes, oh, well, all right. I said, what do you mean? Well, nothing will happen. We got to let it happen. And I tell Steve and everybody, you got to take care. I mean, our country is being fleeced and robbed by people that have gotten away with things that nobody should be allowed to. And a lot of the Republicans, and they're great people, and great people just period. Democrats too, they feel it. Things should happen to take care of this. When she went, oh, that's good, nothing will happen. And a lot of people feel that, right? A lot of people feel that. We can't have that. And I hope that's why Steve and his friends, because he's got some great ones over there, but I hope the Senate gets tough, because the House has been working hard, but the Senate under this guy, Mitch McConnell, has been a disaster. And they should immediately defund the DOJ and prosecutors who are trying to take conservatives and Republicans out of political races through indictments and other illegal means. That's what they're doing. You know, if I was in third or fourth place, or if I wasn't running, I'd be living the life of Riley. I wouldn't be here with you tonight. But I'd be living there. I'd have nice houses all over the place. I'd be living a beautiful life. They wouldn't indict me. They indicted me because I'm in first place. And I hate to read those good polls here, because every time I read a good poll, they want to indict me again. Maybe I should announce I'm doing horribly. It's horrible. We'll withdraw it. Their goal is to interfere with elections in order to make it harder for Republicans and conservatives to win. Congressional Republicans should also stop the Biden administration from bringing back COVID mandates, lockdowns, or restrictions of any kind by cutting off the money. And in your state, because of your governor, you're not going to have that problem, but a lot of states do. The radical Democrats are trying hard to restart COVID hysteria. I wonder why. Is there an election coming up by any chance? You know, I saw just the other day for the first time, we're thinking about masks again. I said, what's going on? Oh, that's right, there's an election coming up. Now, these guys, they'll do anything. But we can't comply because it's bad. And just follow your governor, follow your governor. On day one of my new administration, I will terminate every Green New Deal restriction that is destroying the U.S. economy with skyrocketing energy costs. Starting with Biden's preposterous electric vehicle mandate. You know, some people want to drive for more than an hour and a half. Sean Fain, you know who that is? The president, and he's a respected guy, president of the United Auto Workers, cannot even think about allowing all electric cars. They will be made, every one of them, in China, and the auto industry in America will cease to exist. And they have to, if they do all electric cars, none of them will be made here. They have all of the minerals, they have all of every form of material, every form of everything they have. We have a thing called gasoline, and they don't have that, but they have to do something. And you know what you really want is some people like an electric car, some people like, you got to have choice. Hybrids maybe are good, but you got to have choice. They're forcing it. Think of it. California had big blackouts this week, and they had a restriction on electric cars taking any electricity. You believe it? And then they want to go all electric. The whole thing is crazy. There is already a giant EAT-lot. We call it an EAT-lot. They don't go far along, are very expensive, and the consumer must be given a choice. The consumer wants choice just like we want school choice. We want choice in what kind of a car we buy. So vote for Trump, and I will stop this madness immediately. I will stop it. And, you know, when you think about it, Mexico and Canada love Biden. They love this idiotic policy. That's so good for them. They won't follow suit. And save Michigan and all of the other auto states, because the American consumer just is not interested in doing this. They're not going to do it. They're all over. It's a glut. They call it an EAT-lot. But we have to save the American consumer is what we really have to save. I will revoke China's most favored nation status. They have a trade status, most favored, because they say they're a developing country. Well, you know what? We're a developing country, too. We have to redevelop because our country's gone to hell. And we will ban China from buying up America, including American farmland, which you know something about. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And I will keep men out of women's sports. I will sign a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Now think of it. Could you imagine 10 or 15 years ago having some politician, hate to use that term, but I guess that's what I became, never really wanted to be a politician, but that's what I became, I guess. But could you imagine saying, I will stop child mutilation? Who would think of this? Child mutilation without parental consent. Can you imagine if you made that statement 10 years ago, they'd say, is this guy crazy? but that's what you have to do. We'll stop child mutilation. And can you imagine having to say that we are going to restore the Trump ban on transgender in the military? We had a ban on transgender because... And I went to generals. I say, what do you want to do? No, sir, please do it. But then you see the same guys on television. Well, I'd like to. They just, it's very sad. You know, I had a ban, and tremendous amounts of drugs are necessary, a lot of other things. You're not allowed to have drugs in the military, so just there. And I love everybody. I mean, I love everybody, but it's not something that works, as people will tell you, as generals will tell you, as people in the military will tell you. So I had a ban, and immediately they released that ban. And, you know, it's not a good situation. Just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is under siege. And I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. That's all we should have. But until then, you got to get out and vote. The way we win is to swamp them. They can only cheat so much. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, vote early, you know, go vote early, vote Tuesday. You know, they had a vote in Arizona where many of the machines were broken, the Republican machines, of course. For Carrie Lake was a wonderful woman, but they had a vote. And they got there on Tuesday, and they stood in line for hours and hours and hours because a big percentage of the machines were not working. Terrible thing. This is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. Together we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. We've never seen anything like it. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. It belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. We can't let anybody take it away. From Sioux Falls to Rapid City, from the Black Hills to the Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name. I live in the Badlands. Actually, the inner cities are the Badlands, right? I'll bet your Badlands are very nice. And from the open skies of the Great Plains to the majestic banks of the wide and beautiful Missouri, you stand on the shoulders of some of the toughest, freest, and fiercest people ever to walk on this earth, like her, like him, like so many. This state was built by strong South Dakota men and proud South Dakota women who braved the snow and the rain and the hot and the cold, the dangers and the diseases to head west and settle their families on the great frontier. Life was hard and it was tough, but they were Americans, and this was to them God's country. I fully understand it. Fully understand it. This is God's country. South Dakota is the state where Lewis and Clark discovered the awesome splendor of the American West. It's where fearless American workers carved their heroes into the face of Mount Rushmore. Think of that. It's where generations of hunters and trappers, cowboys, ranchers, miners, farmers, workers, and craftsmen helped build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world.